Hi everybody, and welcome to our video on best practices for OneNote and Class Notebook. I won't waste any time, so let's hit it off with our first one. And our first tip is create content directly on the page. Now I'm using the online version of OneNote for this particular demonstration, but what we mean by putting things directly on the page is that when you are creating pages, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a worksheet here. We know people are actually using the insert and file printout feature, which brings in a Word document and presents it on page almost as a locked up picture. So our students can't actually interact with this particular document. If I was to click anywhere on these lines, I can't type. So what we would prefer people to do is, if I do the same step again, the better process would be to open the Word document. So here's the same Word document. And if I go ahead and copy the contents of that Word document and head back into OneNote, you're going to have editable text. Of course, I probably don't need the lines for this particular worksheet anymore, but you have way more functionality and benefit putting things directly in the page and a smaller file size that comes with that particular page in OneNote. So our second tip is insert a link to files and avoid embedding large files. This is all about keeping your OneNote files quite lean. So we've seen a number of teachers embedding large PDF documents and PowerPoints and so on into OneNote pages. So you might want to consider going to your OneDrive, and if I've got a large PowerPoint that's there, I can click on the share options and copy the link and embed that into my page rather than pasting a link and something quite large into the OneNote ready to be shared across numerous students. So flowing on from tip number 2, we're going to look at embedding Sway and stream videos into our OneNote pages. So Sway is one of the amazing tools on Office 365, and when you come to it, please know that you can actually upload a pre-existing PowerPoint and have that converted into a Sway. Here's a Sway that I had converted using one of those PowerPoints, and when your Sway is published, you can highlight that hyperlink and go to your page on OneNote, paste that in, and that will actually turn into a live presentation tool. So you've just embedded a link on a page, but it's been converted into something visually quite dynamic. And then Stream, on the other hand, is your own organizational video service. So if you click on that and find a space where you can upload a video to Stream, and I'll quickly click on one there, I'll press pause so you don't hear that. But you can essentially copy and paste a link within the Stream, and again, go into a OneNote page. I can type in here, Stream, and paste the link in, and again, have that video come up as something that's embedded and visually something more appealing on your OneNote pages. So tip number 4, make your pages more dynamic by embedding interactive resources. Now there's a heap of things that you can paste into a OneNote page to give it that dynamic feel. And they include a very long list. I'll paste a link up on top of this video that you can find this particular list, but there are things there like ClickView and YouTube and Flipgrid, GeoGebra for maths, and I'm going to show off one of my favorite ones on this particular list, which is the University of Colorado have put their interactive simulations. So the way that particular works is that you'll find that when you go to their website, phet.colorado.edu, that you'll find a whole bunch of simulations across physics, biology, chemistry, math, and more. And so here's one I've got here on diffusion, and if I launch into that interactive, you'll see there's a lot of controls that I have got here on this screen. But if I copy that URL and head back into a OneNote page and paste that in, again, the magic of having these pages do a lot more than just be text on screen. So do yourselves a favor, check out that list and explore those resources. So tip number 5 is avoid distributing pages with large attachments and use your content library. So what we mean by this one is, here is an example of a page that has a PowerPoint embedded on screen. Now, rather than leaving this in the content library and asking the students to just view it here, we're noticing a lot of people are pushing this particular content out to all the students. So now you've got 30 copies of the PowerPoint, and that's not really required. So you want to get in the habit of getting the students to go to the content library to view the material, leaving you the option just to push out the questions and the worksheets to the students so they can work in that manner. Again, that's just going to help you really make your OneNote files quite lean and more streamlined. Tip number 6 is become familiar with the Class Notebook tab and the Review Student Work button. So what I mean by this one is that many people are placing resources inside the reader-only section of the content library, meaning that students cannot come in here and edit the content. Now, we find that there's a lot of people who are asking students to come into this space, right-click and copy one of these pages and paste it back into the sections ready to work on. Of course, that doesn't always work out well because kids don't always paste things in the right section. So what you should be doing is getting familiar with the Class Notebook tab. Now, what that's going to let you do is click on, for starters, distribute page. So I can distribute this particular page to all people, to individuals, and even delete a page en masse that I've pushed out. But I'm going to now push this particular page out to everyone's fitness section. And then once that you've pushed that particular page out and students have worked on it, you can then use the Review Student tab work, and that will actually prompt me to select the section I want to preview and then the page that I wish to look at. That'll give me a list of names. You'll see there's some page locking opportunities if it is an assessment. So rather than clicking on kids' names and clicking on sections and trying to find the right page, instead what you can do is click on the student's name, come straight to their page ready for you to give feedback. And we obviously encourage as well the opportunity for you to go into a student's page and leave some audio feedback for them to preview. So let the Class Notebook tab help you create some efficiencies with the way you work in OneNote. This brings us to tip number 7, and that is to keep your audio files small and also be aware of how to use your audio bookmarks. So if you are looking to use the insert an audio feature to leave feedback, please try to keep that feedback to about 90 seconds or so. OneNote does a brilliant job of trying to compress audio files, but if you keep your feedback concise, it obviously is going to make a smaller file size. Now, I'm obviously working here online, but please know that on the 2016 OneNote and the Windows 10 app, the same feature produces audio bookmarks. And what I mean by that is that if I was to grab my stylus pen and tick or circle and make any annotations or even type a response into the page, that when I press stop, students will see a bunch of play buttons appear next to the feedback that you've left inside that page. So audio feedbacks is a great tool to become familiar with. So the last tip I'll share with you is tip number 8, use the OneNote Web Clipper tool. So I'm using Edge as my browser, but you will actually find it on other browsing platforms. So I've typed into a search for Microsoft Edge add-ons and I've found after a search the OneNote Web Clipper. Once you've installed it, it will place a button next to the URL line. So when you click on it, it will allow you to send a full page snapshot to one of your OneNote pages, select a region from that page, and or bookmark. So a great tool to allow you to very quickly and easily capture your online researching. So I hope you picked up some great tips there for best practices for OneNote and Class Notebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hope to see you soon.